Grab your ticket and get ready to go, because in this Roll for Crit review, we're taking a look at Next Station London. This is a flip and write in which you will be trying to plan out the best underground for London. Do you have what it takes in order to be the best metro planner? Grab your colored pencils and let's find out. So here we have the game set up. You've got a map here. They're actually the same front and back, so nothing to worry about difficulties or different maps for players. You've got 4 color pencils. Everyone's gonna get one map and one of these pencils, though don't get too attached to the pencil. So right now, let's say we start with pink. Write your name up here or whatever you like, and then you're gonna play 4 rounds, which each round playing very similar. For the very first turn of the round, you're gonna flip over a card, and you're gonna have to start from your matching station with the color pencils. So right now, this pink one, and draw to a triangle station. These cards will have symbols matching the stations on your map. Now, you have to draw along the dotted lines, and you can't go through other stations or do weird curvy paths. So right now, I have the option to draw here and here. You may cross this river and these yellow lines. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So right now, let's keep it simple and just draw a line up here. Once everyone has drawn their first line, afterwards, when you flip over another card, these lines have to come from either end of the station. So right now, there's only these 2 options. And in fact, this one can hit a triangle, so we'll draw the other triangle right here. But later on, I can only draw from here or here. This is now locked in unless a specific card comes up. Now, you may notice these 2 cards look different. That's because there are 5 of the blues, 5 of these pink cards in there, each of them with a symbol matching. So they have the triangle, circle, square, pentagon, as well as a wild, which when drawn, each player gets to choose where they would like to go following the similar rules before. You can't draw from the middle, you have to go from somewhere on the outside. When 5 of the pink ones are drawn though, regardless of how many cards are left in the deck, that is the last card for the round. Draw your line, and then you'll enter scoring. Now there is one other card in the deck, and that is the train switch. When that is drawn, you immediately draw another card, and now, instead of being forced to use the 2 ends, you can draw to a circle station from any station along your line. So right now, let's say we did this station. So from now on, when you draw more cards, you still have to draw from the end of a station, but here I have 3 options to draw from instead of the 2. Now, hypothetically, let's just draw a few more lines here and say we get to scoring. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to look at the number of yellow grids you go into. It may be hard to see on the camera, but right now we're in this sector, and this sector. We could have scored more if we went over here, or there's these small corner sectors that only hold 1 station, which could have given us more points. So right now that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you put a 4 there. Next, you're going to look at the sector that has the most stations, which is definitely here, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be a 5 there. And finally, you're going to count the number of times you cross the river and multiply it times 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, making 6. So you're going to multiply these numbers, so that's 20 plus 6, giving you a score of 26. Once you have finished totaling your score, you're actually going to pass your pencil and take the pencil past you from your opponent. You're now going to start at the green station, reshuffling this deck, and starting anew, drawing a whole new line. Now, this adds a couple other complications. First, like before, you start at the green line, but now, let's say that we were drawing here and then we drew a triangle. You cannot cross over another line already drawn. However, you can go down to another station that's already connected like that in order to maybe cross over the station. As long as there are connections going into the station, it doesn't matter what colors or how many, that is still a legal move. The final thing to talk about are these spiked areas. These are tourist locations. Whenever you draw to a tourist location, that allows you to cross off one of these spots on the bottom. You'll keep doing this, drawing out your stations until you've used every pencil. So while the map doesn't technically match the scoring, this is what the bottom area is going to look like at the end of the game. After playing 4 rounds, 1 with each pencil, first you're going to add up the final scores of each round here, which comes up to this number, which I totally knew off the top of my head. Then you're going to look at each sector and count the number of stations that touch 2 different lines, 3 different lines, and 4 different lines. So right now, there really is only 1 station here that has 2 different lines touching it. So that would only give us 2 points, and 1 where there's 3 different lines connected by 1 station. Now, obviously, there'd probably be a bit more connections, but for now, let's just stick with that. Then you're going to take a number that hasn't been crossed off yet, so the lowest one, so right now that would be 11. You might not be able to tell there. Add it to the torus number there. Add up those for that number. This is only used in advanced modules. You're just going to put zeros for now. Add up this total and get your final score. I mixed those up. Now let's talk about those advanced modules. There are 2 different modules and you can use one or both while playing. The first one are the shared objectives. You're going to randomly choose 2 to play with, and during the game, your goal is to try to meet these objectives while trying to complete your normal lines. These objectives have different goals, and there isn't a rush that someone who gets there first gets more points. Simply, when you are able to do so, you're going to check mark it that you were able to complete that one, or possibly both, and for each one you do, you get an additional 10 points. The second module is the pencil powers. In addition, at the beginning with each player getting a colored pencil, they're also going to get one of these cards. That power is now connected to that pencil. So for example, if the pink pencil got that power, then whoever has the pink pencil gets a one-time power to use, which can help them score extra points. When a round ends and you pass the pencil, you pass the power to, refreshing it so that player can use that power on their turn when using that pencil. Finally, there's solo mode, and it actually plays just like the regular mode. The only difference is you're going to line up your pencils in a random order like so. You'll start with this pencil, do the blue line, finish, take the green pencil, do the green line as it goes past you, and continuing until you finish the game. Then you're going to compare your score to a chart in the rulebook and see how well you did. So this is a simple flip and right game. If you've played a lot of these, you'll definitely be able to hop onto this really quick, but it does do a couple little intricacies that I find are interesting. First, there's the color pencil swapping. That isn't very new in terms of just you're passing something along in a roll and write or flip and write, but I do find it interesting here as the writing utensil not only dictates where you start, but I feel it does an interesting, helps you out in not making too many mistakes while also rewards you for planning further ahead. You see, because you change locations at the start of each round, it's much harder for you to sort of make a mistake and make it so you can't go any farther. That may occur a couple times, but in other games, I'm thinking of like when you're playing out a city and maybe you accidentally walled yourself in or made some weird system so you can't place any more buildings. Here, whatever you did on the pink line, once you jump to another line, you have a whole new area unless you really spread out. While at the same time, it also rewards you for actually thinking ahead and thinking, well, I want to make this line here and this is close so the green station can connect because that's one of the goals and I can get more points. So I still felt rewarded for thinking ahead and where to draw lines and not trying to close off areas. But at the same time, it just didn't feel like it was something where I could accidentally just put myself in the corner at the end of round 1 and then just do nothing for the other 3 rounds. That all said, this is the same map. So usually after a few playthroughs, I really felt like I know what I'm going to do with this station or what I'm going to go for. It really only switched it up once you added in those advanced modules. And honestly, if you are someone who's played a lot of flip or roll and writes, you're probably going to need to add those in if you actually want to keep engaged with this game. Because you have those shared objectives, even though you're not racing for them, it's still going to add that extra little bit of tension where you have to think a bit more of, is it worth it for me to draw it here, but I need to cross the river a few more times. So maybe I'm going to draw it this way. This could turn out a bit worse for me if I don't get the right card drawn. So it adds that extra tension where at the very least, even though you're playing with the same map over and over, with the different goals, it will hopefully add enough for you to be able to still be interested in trying a new round. The one other nitpick I have comes with the multi-station scoring. The scoring itself can be a little finagly at times. Most of it wasn't too bad. I don't like the coloring of the yellow sectors when counting sometimes, but the thing that bothered me that I thought was an issue was when you're trying to count sectors that touch multiple lines. There's one for if they touch only 2, there's one if 3 lines touch a station, and one if all 4 lines are able to touch a station. And every time, whenever we got to scoring, that would slow everyone down and almost like I would count mine, pass my paper to someone else to double check that I did mine right, and vice versa. So I really felt like the actual pace of this quick, light, flip and write game hits a sudden halt on that specific area of scoring. I wish there was a better way. Definitely a digital version would solve this easily. I mean, literally the game knows hey, I can digitally count those stations. But in terms of the physical paper, it becomes a bit annoying, especially because just the lighter color of the pencils and what's touching different stations, it was something that bothered me a little bit at the end of each scoring. However, outside of those nitpicks, it's a fun, light game. I mean, the solo mode really is just the main game, so if you're looking for more player interaction, you're not going to find it here, but I just feel that's actually relatively common in the flip and roll and write genre. I can only think of a small handful that really have player interaction in those game mechanics, so I can't fault it for following what is the norm. I think it does a good job of trying to keep a light, fun game with adding just a few little extra twists here and there for you to try and shake things up. And hopefully, if whether you're a new player, you can pick this up and play the normal mode, or someone who's a bit more experienced can throw in those modules and pencil powers to help spice things up. Crits and misses for Next Station London. Crits. The rotating pencils and starting off on different points on each round, I think does a great job of reducing the number of mistakes that can occur, while at the same time rewarding advanced planning. In terms of mistakes, while yes, you can make mistakes during a round, it's very hard for you to have one round be so poor it ruins every other round in terms of places you can actually go. And in terms of reward you, it's definitely a great idea to look ahead, trying to leave stations open for other lines to connect to in order to get more points, or to just cross over another line so maybe you can try to hit more districts. The advanced modules not only give you more ways to score, but provide a bit more tension and planning, as sometimes getting some of those shared objectives may not be congruent with the most optimal way to simply score a line. And the pencil powers are awesome and make them not only feel more unique, but give you a bit more wiggle room and additional planning when you know that a specific power will be coming up in the next round. Misses. The scoring is a little bit messy, but it's only really an issue when it comes down to scoring stations connecting to multiple lines. This can cause issues where you need to recount and make sure you have the right number and make sure that they're applying to the right station of just 2 lines versus 3 lines versus 4. And almost every time we felt like we needed someone else to double check to make sure that we did correctly count all the stations. While it gives you a ton of paper, both sides of each sheet are the same map. So the only way you're going to change up the gameplay is through the advanced modules. The advanced modules do well enough on their own, but it could have been nice if they also included a separate map of London that switched up some of the stations so you could change things up, whether you just want to play the basic mode or make it more complicated with the modules. I did enjoy this and think it was fun, but the truth is you probably already know if you'd like this or not without playing it if you enjoy flip and writes. If you've never played any before, this is actually a fantastic start. This can easily hit the table. It's pretty simple if you don't play without the advanced modules, and then if you want to maybe add some extra steps and complexity, then you can throw those in. I've just played a lot, so I wish there was maybe some extra, just even one extra map I think would have been nice, because nice small box, I think that I wouldn't want to expand too much, but I think just a map on the other side could have done well enough. And I do know that they have a new set, Next Station Tokyo, so I don't know if that adds a lot more complexity or if it's just a different map. Honestly, just a different map alone, I think is more than enough to be added for a game like this. But let me know your thoughts if you've played either of the Next Station games, if you enjoyed them, if it was one of your first, or if you're a seasoned flip, roll, write player, and these are ones that you had to try out. I'd love to hear all your thoughts in the comments down below. But for now, I've got a ride to catch. So I'm Will, and this has been a Roll for Crit review.